and made that. Now we're going to leave Genesis, that we understand what the purpose of these stars was, for signs, for wonders. Well, this is called Job's sign, because God's dealing with Job when we read this. That's why we're using Job as our kaleidoscope. Okay, so we're going to go to Job 38:1. Job 38:1. Now, Job, I done taught on a lot. You can look it up. He's a fascinating character to me. I mean, what he went through. The trials of Job, everybody's familiar with that. But Job was looking for, or God, was looking for an Abraham. And Job, I believe he was, because this is the oldest book in the Bible, but he was around 400 years before Abraham, if I'm not mistaken. Calculated a long time ago. But God was looking for an Abraham. He found Abraham, but Job could have been Abraham. That's the point I made. He still got restored, doubled everything, but he ended up accusing God for not being fair, for his suffering when he didn't deserve it. This is God straightening him out right here. Then the Lord answered Job. This is Job 38:1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man. Man up, God said. And I will demand of thee, answer thou me. Man up, stand up, like a man, since you're going to justify yourself with me. And let's see if you got an answer for what I'm about to give. And I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. I got some questions for you. Where was thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Where were you, Job? Did you see it? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof? Who did you see me take a tape measure and measure all the lines of the earth? Get everything in its right proportion. Did you see that? If thou knowest, or who have stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who have laid the cornerstone thereof? God built this earth. This is like a construction job he's talking about. When the morning stars, pay close attention, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy, the angels. Or who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth, as if it had issue out of its womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swallowing for it. And break up for it my decree, place and set bars and doors, and said, hitherto thou shalt come, but no further. God checked the ocean and the seas, said you're not going to overrun this boundary I set for you. and caused the day spring to know its place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wicked might be shaken out of it. It is also as clay to the seal, and they stand in their garment. And from the wicked, their life is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in search of the death? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Now there's people that's been to some great depths of the sea, and they came back scared out of their wits from what they've seen. So what God is telling Job here, I got dimensional gates or bars or at the bottom of these seas and in obscure places. That's basically what he's telling. You got wormholes, you got places to go to other dimensions on this earth. That's what I was telling you. It's a lot of things science don't understand or don't know, but it's been around for thousands of years. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea, or hast thou walked in search of the death? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? God's talking little gates of death. Gates are here. They have gates. They're fenced off. They're walled off. They have walls. We the only problem here in America have a problem with the wall. And heaven has gates and walls around it. We're not convicts. Have the gates of earth, have the gates of death been open? This is Job 38:17. Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breath of the earth? Declare it if thou knowest. God put Job on the spot. He said, what do you know about what I created? What do you really know? You wasn't able. You can only speculate. So if you can only speculate with earthly things that I've seen, how much more you speculate when it comes to spiritual things? Where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That thou shouldest take it. To the bound thereof, and that shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it together? Thou wast when born, since this was born, did you have built-in knowledge of all this I'm telling you? Or heavens, the number of the days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasures of snow? Now scientists was perplexed with this for years, but they've already proven the Bible right on this one too. Science proven it. That each individual snowflake, when you look at it under a microscope, looks like a diamond and different types of treasure. This is what he's telling Job. Snowflakes are like treasure. They're crystal, beautiful. The science said it's the most beautiful thing they've seen a lot of under the microscope, the snowflake. And each one individual, no two flakes are the same. Crystal, like that crystal jewelry, crystal diamonds. But God said this, what he said it was. He said it's a treasure. Let's go to verse 20. Then thou shouldst take it, the bound thereof, and that thou shouldst know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it because thou was when thou was born, or because the number of days is great? Hast thou entered into the treasure of snow? That's what I just got to talking about. Or hast seen the treasures of hell? That's what blue scientists are like. It really looks like under the microscope like treasure. By what way is the light open? Which scattereth the cast wind upon the sea, upon the earth. Who hath divided a water course for the overflowing of the waters, or a way for the lightning of thunder, to cause it to rain on the earth? The laws of precipitation. How it rains on the earth, and the overflow of water, what God's talking about, runs off into rivers and streams right back to the ocean. And the clouds form over the ocean. It rains more rain on the dry land. Laws of precipitation. God did this. That's what I say. Man is without excuse. Just from looking at nature, you know there's a God. Everything's just too orderly. That's why you can kick evolution in the rear end right out of the schools. And put creation back and put Bibles back too and prayer. That's what we need in these schools. Sorry to get sidetracked, but that's where it is. We done already seen when Marxism do the schools and when Darwinism do the schools. Look at this generation now, just run around burning everything up. Burning it all down, man, to the ground, to ash. That's what it's produced. And it started in schools. Schools are just dumbed down warehouses of ignorance. Just gulags. Re-education camps. Marxist re-education camps. That's all schools are. University, college, all the way down. Secondary and primary school. Warehouses of ignorance. The Bible makes you very intelligent when you study. When you put Bibles in these schools, that'll straighten them out fast. I'm talking from the universities down to the secondary. Primary school. Doesn't matter. Put God back in. God makes you very intelligent. And Darwinism evolution makes you very dumb. The Bible said a fool is saying his heart there is no God. Makes you a fool. By what way is the light parted? This is verse 24. Which scattered the east wind upon the earth. Who have divided a water course for the overflowing of the waters, or a way for lightning of thunder? God made that lightning and thunder. He has lightning and thunder all around his throne. So many lights are here. To cause it to rain upon the earth. This is verse 26. Where no man is. You got places man haven't even stepped foot. They just still to find it. Deserted, hidden away place. Man ain't never even put foot in it. That's what God's saying. He said, my laws don't change. I'm watering, feeding everything over there. There's no man there. Verse 26, to cause it to rain upon the earth where no man is, or the wilderness wherein there is no man, barren places. And God still water and still taking care of you. Satisfy the desolate and waste ground, to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth. Hath the rain of fallen, or who hath begotten the drops of dew? Out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoary frost of heaven, which hath gendered it. The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? You would have to understand the constellations to understand what he's talking about. That's what I say. You have to be in the Bible. You have to take your brain out there to be a Christian. Canst thou bring forth Mazareth in his season? Or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? This is part of the picture that I mentioned to you earlier, of the storybook of the stars. And he's talking about the unfolding drama in the stars, showing what we will be going through here on earth. And it's written from God's perspective. What we'll be going through on earth. It's written in the stars, in the storybook. All the creation, salvation, Satan, the fallen angels, the saints, the church, the Old Testament saints, the church, the children of Israel, both the southern kingdom of Judah and well as northern kingdom of Samaria. And God had them represented as two women in the constellation because woman symbolizes the church. Canst thou bring forth Mazareth in its season, or cast thou guide Artaxerxes with his sons? Knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Canst thou lift up thy voices to the clouds, that the abundance of the waters may cover thee? Okay, so we're going to stop there because we're getting in there another nature. And I was wanted pretty much, but that was good to read that to let you know. God did this. God created everything we see. You ain't got to be a scientist to see it. Just look around. The order of creation. God did. That's why man has no excuse when it comes to the lake of fire. You say, well, all you do is look around. You knew I was there. I'm talking about some of them. I'm talking about these people. I'm talking about they waiting on the sign before they convert. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's go to Romans. That's the way that I said we was going to go. Romans 1:18. Romans. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Where is it revealed in heaven? Bizarre. That's what I just told you earlier. God showed his wrath, and pouring out his wrath out on his earth. Judgment. His judgment's written in the scales of Libra. Outweighed in the scales and found one. Scales always symbolize judgment, justice. God has the picturesque drama already been in it. For therein is the unrighteousness of God revealed. From faith to faith it is written, the just shall live by faith. That's one verse back up, 17. For the wrath of, now 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them. What do you mean manifest in us? You have a conscience, don't you? Do you have a conscience? A rock didn't give you a conscience. According to evolution, we all come from rocks and stones, inanimate objects. No. You have a conscience because a moral, absolute moral being created you call God. That's why you know right from wrong. You got God's laws written on your conscience. And you can harden your heart, your conscience. But don't mean God didn't give you that voice to tell you, no, you're doing wrong. You know not to steal. Just natural. No, not to lie. Feel guilt. Not to cheat, not to do this, whatever. God gave you that conscience. Now you and your conscience can go to hell for ignoring God. But you'll be conscious in hell, saying and feeling guilt for rejecting God and Christ. Conscience don't, just because you died, everything stays intact. Your reasoning, everything goes where you go to heaven or hell. But God made us conscious beings. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in him, for God hath shown it unto him. For the invisible things from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, as they are without excuse. Man's without excuse. DNA is God's fingerprint. If you understood how complicated really DNA was, some of the most powerful computers on earth couldn't even, much less hold the information. And some of God's creation, just about a fraction of it. Show you how complicated it is. But that's God's fingerprint, DNA. And in order to have and DNA ain't nothing but a computer program. In order to have a computer program, you have to have a computer program. And that's God. That's why I say it's his fingerprint. And all creation has a fingerprint. DNA. It gives information when it's duplicated. Animals or whatever. DNA. And RNA. Nitronucleic acid. DNA. That should make you alone. Have faith in God. You're studying DNA and RNA. And the universe is God's footprint. DNA is God's fingerprint in the universe. Looking up at them stars, that's God's footprint. The earth, all this creation, planets, that's his footprint. Don't you know there's a God? It's too well organized for it not to be. Now, we're going to back up. So God let men know his story in the stars. And we'll go back up to 18, for the wrath of God is revealed from the heaven. So that means what I told you was the truth. God wrote his judgment in them stars, him pouring out his wrath on his earth for unrighteousness in the end. For the wrath of God is revealed, Romans 1:18, from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. All right, now we're going to move on. Let's see, I think that's it. I was going to go to Revelations. Maybe I will still. Just to show you one more thing since we're on stars. God's revelation. But there's going to come a time when the stars will be no more. And we're going to read this in a second. And it's hard for us to imagine. When we look up in heaven and not seeing those stars, but God said no. There's going to come a time when I'm pouring my wrath out, that the stars will be no more. And we're going to get to that real quick. I'll be there, just bear with me. And we'll get there. But it's hard for us to imagine that. Looking up at those stars. And God said, yeah. And he's taking the stars out. Give me 1 second. So normally and I just wanted to show you this before I get out of here. But if not, you look it up for yourself in your concordance. But here's a time when them stars are going to disappear. And God said the stars are going to fall into the earth. And I found that interesting. That the stars are going to fall into the earth. So what really is what those stars are comprised of, that they're going to fall into the earth? That's what you got to answer yourself. And this is going to be something terrible. You should too. Christ said to pray that we be found worthy to escape the temptation to come on the world. The temptation is talking about is a tribulation and a great tribulation. And I strongly suggest you get right with God. We're in the last days. And things are happening at a rapid pace. And my suggestion to you is to get right with God, get close to God, and put away whatever might be putting a wedge between you and God. You pretty much know what that is. I pray for God for revelation, and He'll reveal it to you. These are the trying times. I look like I'm not going to be able. I thought I could. Sometimes I'm lucky, and I could just stumble upon it. But you may have to look that up in your own time. But God said He's going to roll the sky up like a scroll in Revelations when He's pouring His wrath out. And the stars are going to fall into the earth. And I just found that interesting, that what really are the stars going to be like reduced to like a light bulb or something? I'm trying to picture this, that the stars, that's what got me. That's why I wanted to read it. Oh, okay, let me see. Oh, found it. Oh, thank God. All right. Revelations, I stalled long enough. Revelations 6:12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. And God's pouring his wrath out on the earth. This is the great tribulation we're reading about. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, because the moon is reflecting on the sun. The sun is looking like an orange ball, dark. So that's what you're going to get on the moon. It reflects the sun, so it looks like a blood moon. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth. So you wouldn't think I was just making this up. That's why I wanted to read it to you. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth. This is Revelation 6:13. Even as fig trees cast her untimely figs when they are shaken of a mighty wind. Now what size are these stars when they hit earth? That's what I'm curious. They're the size of rocks or mid-sized rocks, light bulbs. It's zillions of stars. He said the stars fell into the earth. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth. So when they coming like meteors. How do these stars come? That's why I ask them kind of questions. You always want to do critical thinking even when you read your Bible. Doesn't hurt to stretch your brain. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as the fig tree cast her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll. See, I told you that. When it is rolled together, so it's just going to roll up like a scroll. And every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains and the mighty men and every bondman and every free man, every slave, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said unto the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? That's true. I thought it'd be a good note to end on with the stars, them falling out the sky.